Afternoon, everyone. Welcome to today's live Q&A session with me and Mr. Chris Palmer. And today's topic is technical SEO. We've not quite touched on technical SEO as such. Well, we speak about it all the time, but we'll start off the conversation with technical SEO, but it's not just solely dedicated to that. If you've got any questions at all, do put them in the chat. But before we do, check out Mr. Randy Rodet, the news guy. His logo has just appeared above Chris's head, and the link is below if you want to check out Randy and his PR service. Then check it out.
I hear rave reviews about this guy too. Like, he puts in that work. Everybody that I know that's interacted with, actually, you know what? He's a competitor. Never mind. No, everybody loves him. No, everybody absolutely loves his service. It's a fact.
He's a good guy. Knows his shit.
Oh, for sure.
Absolutely. And he's worked hard for it, which is half the battle as well. So, fair play to the guy. Fair play to the guy.
2 months, they're just going to be rich. You know what I mean? Talk to new guys. They're like, so how long does it take to get your first 20 clients? I'm like, took me a decade. No. Nah. But in any case, I'm sorry. But yeah, I hear a lot of good news from him.
Yeah.
Good news.
No, he does good work.
Yeah, that's facts.
But Ryan Durrani is here. What's happening, lads? But
wasn't Ryan supposed to help me with something? I forget what he was doing. Wasn't Ryan doing something very special? He has a unique capability.
I don't know.
Maybe not.
I don't know what you guys have been talking about or what he was supposed to do. But Ryan, maybe you can enlighten us. Yeah, today is technical. But before the questions start popping in, now, guys, if you do have questions, put them in the chat. We will come to them. First come, first serve. Technical or otherwise is fine. But Chris, I'm going to ask some questions while these guys are warming up and letting us know they're there. Technical is something when I do consultancy calls or audits and that type of thing, I very often see that the technical elements.
Did you get my book?
No. I wasn't looking at that fucking book.
Come on, you got to get it,
man. But you often check it and you're like, fuck, no one's given any consideration to any of this stuff at all. There's broken this and broken that, and it's like no one's ever ran an audit on the website before. They've just went, here's your deliverable, Mr. Client, here's your citations or your links or your content, and not bothered their ass with the technical side. How important do you feel technical is? Because what I've seen over the years, like on LinkedIn and stuff, you've got your technical guys going, oh, fuck links and fuck content. It's all about technical. And, the content guys are saying, fuck technical and links. It's all about the content. And the link builders are saying, fuck you all. It's all about the links. Genuinely, how important do you feel technical is?
Well, that's kind of like asking how important is the wood for your house, right? So, I mean, it's the backbone, it's the starting point, but I think where SEOs and performance-driven guys that are doing SEO or digital marketing or performance marketing like we do, like we're trying to make money for the client so I can make money, it's overlooked because it's a long, tedious process that doesn't necessarily bring dollars in the door. Right? Like I can't say, oh, I spent an entire week cleaning up all your stuff and it made you more money. I'm going to charge you a G. And by the way, it's probably not going to really do much. You're not even going to see it. You have no idea what I'm even doing. And then, right? It doesn't make them any money. It's hard to show them all the stuff they get lost. They're like, I don't even care. So with that being said, And then here's the best part. There's 1,000,001 people all over the internet that have 10,000 things they'll check, and they'll do it for $50, right? Or they'll run the same tools that we'll run. Screaming Frog, Sitebulb, SEO Suite has a really good audit, and they'll make it all 100, or go into SEMrush, make it all 100. What we tend to do first is just go into GSC. You know, those errors crawled on not seen. Oh, this is the canonical tags messed up. Whatever it says in GSC, we like to clean that up. On top of that, what I always tell clients is, if you want to alleviate a lot of technical issues, when we're talking about speed, security, it all starts at the host. So as long as you don't cheap out, not that I ever have, I've learned that lesson the hard way, spend the coins on good host. Pay the money, pay the price, because it's your foundation. It's a big foundation. That'll take care of security. It'll take care of speed. Your stuff won't go down. Your stuff will be super fast. If most of these guys are using shared, they have a 0.5 gig or 1 gig of RAM, and then they're putting WordPress on top of it, right? Yeah. Like, come on, go and buy a good server, get a VPS. That'll be your security, your speed, everything. It takes care of a lot. And then if there's any little other minute issues, pay the cost. Like, you could get free Cloudflare, but there's a lot of other solutions. Google has one. Amazon has CloudFront. I always say it wrong, but like Akimi or Akamai has one. Microsoft has one. Get a balancer. Like, if your stuff's not loading fast, you need a little bit more oomph, serve your photos with a CDN. All right, that's enough for me. Sorry.
Ryan's asking, do you ever think an audit can become too big and become useless?
See, again, for me, like, it took me not a long time to realize this. Like, I always knew this, but I wanted to be more valuable. But really, how you make yourself valuable is how many times did you get the client's phone to ring? So it's not that it's ever useless. It's always important to make sure that all your ducks are in a row so I can have the best success. However, I'm often trying to point them somewhere where, hey, all these technical issues, your security and all this stuff, let's take care of that with the host level. And then any of this little stuff that you're seeing that's making you crazy, you can literally find people to do the exact list of what you want for $50, $60.
Yeah. And
they do good. And the turnaround times are like 2 days. You know what I mean? I just had this talk with a young lady yesterday. She's like, man, I'm going through the tool. I think she was using SEMrush. And she's like, there's all these little errors. And I pulled up Fiverr. I have a gentleman that helps me out with this particular task. I'm like, why don't you see this guy? Like, he's not the cheapest. He charges $75. But that whole list, by tomorrow, he'll be done. And it'll be perfect, pristine. And if there's anything he missed, he'll take care of it for you. So that's my recommendation. You need to be focused on much larger picture. How can you maximize dollar flow for you and your business? The small, tedious things. Plus, there's each little thing that you go to fix is a learning curve within itself, right? Like, oh, the 404 errors. Oh, the canonical errors. Each little thing is a learning curve time, right? So you don't want to spend your time doing stuff that doesn't make you money when you can go and buy it off somebody for less than $100. That's my recommendation. Wait, you got it. Kai left you a little nibble on there.
Well, I mean, I am not a fan of. I'm not a fan of people who do these big ass audits and they document every last fucking thing, and none of the stuff or a lot of the stuff isn't actually going to make a huge difference to your website. I also feel that people do these big audits to blind the client and make themselves seem more important.
Right.
Agree. That's not what a client wants. A client wants someone to talk to them in layman's terms in a language they understand. They don't give a fuck about your canonicals and this and that. And, you can rattle them all off, large CSS files. I mean, that means nothing to a general client. They don't even know what that means or how long that takes to fix. So I think audits can become too big and complicated to the point where they do become useless because the client wouldn't know what to do with it anyway. So, and also, is that time being spent on that? If you know you're in charge of it, delegating someone to do a lot of these tasks, is that going to be something that's actually going to help improve the positions of the website and the rankings? If not, then what's the point in fucking doing it? You know, just leave it and focus on the things that will make a difference. So again, a lot of people do these things to tick a box to kid on to Mr. Client that they've done, you know, the most extensive audit on the planet. But it kind of brings us nicely into the next question. When you do these audits and whatever, you're going to come across a lot of the same stuff time and time again. It's not like you go into a website and you see a different problem each time. You know, once you've audited 10 websites, you're going to see a pattern of the same things that typically go wrong or break or are not being done or whatever it may be. But what is the most common but complicated tech issue that you see, Chris?
Complicated. For me, it's the security issues. There are particular security issues that I have to pay more than the $75. Sometimes there's cleanup issues due to security infractions, but to me, it's the security, the preventative security, and then the cleanups. You know, some stuff I've encountered, but you know, I run across stuff a lot, depending on the niche I'm working with or who I'm talking to. Like, you know, Johnny's plumber, not so much, but I work with a lot of people. So I see issues, but I think security, in my opinion.
Security is a hard one, especially if it has been infiltrated, is the word I'll use. There is someone that I would use who properly know how to clean that shit up properly. They know where all these, you know, all that malware can be left, whether it be in the server or on the website or whatever. So,
but then cleaning up the SERPs, like there's just so many little details to do. It's like, it's daunting. It's
a pain in the ass. So there is a guy that I would typically go to for that. And
what's his name?
It doesn't. What's it? You know, I'm not giving his name up. You give me the name of the £75 guy, and we'll maybe talk. But in
private, no problem.
But nah, I mean, I can tell you in private, no problem as well. But yeah, it's worth getting someone who does that all day, every day, to be doing it, because there's going to be things that we would miss because we're not doing it all day, every day. Well, I'm certainly not anyway. So, yeah. But Paul Lovell says something that I would tend to agree with. You've got to look at the 80-20 from the audits, being there's probably 20% of the things that will actually matter within that audit. 80% of it will be complete and utter
bollocks. I like
bollocks
that term.
Is
bollocks.
Yeah, bollocks.
Do you like this? Is this cool? I got the Scotland flag, right? Is that right?
That's nice, yeah.
And the American flag?
Yeah.
It's like when forces combine?
Yeah.
No? Yeah, okay, cool. I like it too. It's backwards, though. I don't understand. Does it matter? Do you care?
It doesn't matter.
Okay, all right, cool.
Wait a minute. Is there something I can do here?
Yeah, I mirrored my...
Yeah.
So if I mirror the camera, the background doesn't mirror. That's so weird. That's okay,
man.
It's okay. Thank you, sir.
But Restream, I'm still getting to grips with Restream, so it's yeah.
It's a great tool, though, right?
Absolutely.
Excellent.
It's up there. But
I'm sorry to cut you there. Did you have? Okay. I do have a question though. From a like, you know, painting broad strokes. Like if you're looking at it and you just want something to click the boxes or check the boxes. Other than what I mentioned, is there something that you utilize? I like PowerSuite's Audit, and I like Sitebulb's Audit. You know, SEMrush's is cool, but to me, it's not as extensive.
Yeah.
Is there anything there or is there any tools that you would tend to lean on or you think would be helpful?
I'm a big fan of Screaming Frog or Sitebulb are the two that I personally prefer. I also do run SEMrush as well. What I find with SEMrush is sometimes it flags up some nuances on there, and you're like, that's not really a problem. Sometimes because SEMrush aggressively tries to crawl a website, it will block, the website security features block them from getting to it, and it says, these pages are not available and all that kind of stuff. And you're like, fuck, and it flags up as if you shit yourself when you look at it. You're like, fuck, what's going on with this website? And then you actually go and check, and you're like, right, I see what's happening. So SEMrushes is good, but I do feel there are certain parts missing, and I think the Sitebulb for me aesthetically is the best looking. If you're wanting to look at it, Screaming Frog, I've always said it does a great job. But just looking at it can be sore on the eyes, and if I'm auditing someone's website, I've got to then document and try and explain what that means to someone. And I think Screaming Frog does it, not Screaming Frog, Sitebulb does it in a nice, presentable format. Exactly. So that wins for me. But I use those three. You could go out and buy them all, but what's the fucking point? I think between all of them, you're pretty much going to catch everything. I mean, obviously you're going to do manual checks when you're doing an audit as well, and site speed stuff and stuff like that are separately done away from the audit, and do your manual checks and stuff as well. So there's a bunch of that going on as well, but that's the tools.
When you're looking at GSC, how important, when you first log on and clients see this consistently, there'll be 2,100 pages indexed, 400, like these will be green, this will be gray.
Yeah.
How important is it to you to alleviate those? Like, do you spend time and effort doing that in all actuality? Not you personally, but does the squad do that for you or nah? If it gets out of hand, maybe.
Yeah, if it gets out of hand, maybe. It depends on what the hell's going on there and why Google's not indexing them now. If that is a large chunk of someone's content that's supposed to rank, then we're going to have to address that and figure out why that stuff's not being indexed and stuff like that. So it depends in each situation, but obviously there's a lot of URLs that will flag up in grey that you don't really have to care about too much. You could become obsessed with that, and you could spend hours and hours and hours and hours and hours doing that stuff. Is that going to make a huge difference to your website? As long as all the green ones are the ones that you want to rank, then I wouldn't waste too much time, unless it was starting to become an issue where I thought this could impact the crawl budget here, or it was getting out of control. So it really depends on what was going on there overall, or what I felt was going on with the website.
Fair enough. Yeah, that's how I look at it. If it's out of hand, or if it's, in my eyes, looking like a problem, like if it's starting to reach half the amount of pages, if I have 2,000 indexed and this baby's at almost a stack, we're gonna go clean that up.
Yep. Yeah. Fair enough. Now, Asad Lukman says a 404 page that does not even exist on the website and it's not been created before.
Yep. Yeah, that's a fun problem. You better disable those search functionalities on your site.
Old Ryan boy knows about that. Remember, Ryan? The search functionality was disabled on my website, then it became enabled, and people were, I don't know if people or a bot or whatever it was force indexing all sorts of shit on my website, and I'm like, motherfucker. So yeah, but Ryan was there when that was happening, and I'm like, Ryan, have a look at this. What do you fuck do you think's going on? Because I was almost certain that the search functionality was switched off previously, but I don't know if a plugin's been updated or something's been updated and overwritten, but it then became enabled and it was getting battered. So that is what I would expect to be happening there. Assad search functionality. There is actually a plugin for that, disable search function or disable. Yeah, I think it's called disable search function. So you don't actually have to do any weird coding. You can actually just use that plugin to disable that from working on your website. So check that out. Ryan's got another question. Thoughts on AI agents, Chris?
I don't. Can you elaborate? AI agents, as in what? Maybe I have no idea what you're even asking me, sir. Sorry.
So what type of AI agent then, Ryan? I've seen Chris. And I can never remember the name of this
You've seen me.
tool. But you can basically have an AI agent to do sales. It can do your social media. It can do all of these tasks. So I don't know which one he is trying to emphasize on, but that type of thing, creating an agent to do a specific task.
It's funny you say that. So for the last 2 years, every question, every ticket, every email, and every comment on YouTube that I've answered, we pulled into a database. And when we launched Grey Hat SEO, we're utilizing that now that I know what you're talking about, as an AI agent. So that way, and have you ever gone through a tool and there'll be these little pop-ups that show up? Mm-hmm. And you like, oh, do you have a little question? Do you have, it's almost like a little tab, and it will be like, oh, here's the commonly asked questions. Do you have a question? It could be a search function, or like if you have a question about the service while you're right on it, it'll answer it. And what it's answering based upon, in my own words, is you're basically fine-tuning or training a AI chatbot on you. So like, what actually would I say? How could I? Because something I've found with training people is they have the vast majority, but it's how they understand, right? And then you go back and you're like, oh, I went in and told them like that. So it's like being able to explain service or product or anything in your own words is massively helpful. So in that case, my thoughts are, I love it so much that I'm going to deploy it on my new asset.
Good. Yep. I think
Plus,
it's the way
it saves money.
Forward.
I'd rather pay the $2,000 to do the training to get the tools than, keep having to go back over and over again to reemphasize to clients, what potentially a worker said,
Yeah. Nah,
yeah, man, I'm with it.
Absolutely. Honey, should I add keyword and content already ranking for second page? And for how many keyword ranking on second to add into the content to avoid keyword stuffing flag? So you're on page 2. Should you be adding in more keywords? And is there a number you can give, Honey, to avoid keyword stuffing, Chris?
Well, so I wouldn't be overly concerned with the keyword stuffing issue, but it's like 3 sections of a question. So the first one, to give you the answer, should you be adding keywords? For sure. If you're on page 2, that means Google perceives you for that term. That's why you're being rewarded. If you increase density, you'll probably get a lift on that key term variation. So with that being said, you have an initial page that's optimized around a central key term. There's other secondary key terms and variations and LSI variations that you can also rank for. And these are the terms that you want to add. Now, as far as understanding, hey, how many times should I put it on? I don't want a keyword stuff. I don't want any issues. We'll put in that variation. And who is the winners, or who are the winners for those variations? And then what's the high and what's the low, right? Or you can come up with an average. Like that key term variation on the top performers, how many times are they using it? How many? But don't forget, if it's a key term variation that you have on your page already, it's the same thing, just a different variation. remember that I need to take into account the current count that I have. You know what I'm saying? So just be mindful. Take a look at the leading competition. Can you add the key terms to your page? Absolutely. That's the easiest way to success. And don't worry about keyword stuffing. I hope that helps you.
Yes. But guys, keep your questions coming. If you're listening in and you want to ask anything, please do slip it in there, because we are quieter today on the old questions.
I made a script just to do that. Very important.
Yes. But I don't know, John, I don't know if you were going to ask a question. You've hit the enter key and forgot to ask the rest of it. But if you do have a question, please put it there. But Chris, going back to the tools and stuff like that, you know, the tools that I mentioned, the same tools that you would use, or are you using something different out of curiosity?
Yeah, SEMrush. I used to like Screaming Frog, but for the exact reason that you mentioned, like Sitebulb has like a check file. You know, like you can give them a beautiful PDF. There's a check. They can see progress. Like as far as client relationship and understanding what we're going to do, and it even tells you why.
Yeah.
It's Sitebulb for the cost to value ratio is outrageous. So no, that's exactly what I use. I was hoping you'd have some fancy guy stuff, you know, like that's good, you know. I thought you'd have like a banger. Sometimes you do, you know.
Sometimes you do, but everyone's always looking for something that's actually not there. You know, people are like, "Oh, come on, show me the one you're really using." You're like, "Dude, like, do you think I've got some fucking special tools here that no one else has got?"
With you, it might be something that cost a little bit more that I would overlook because of cost, and you'd be like, "Nah, it's worth the dough," you know. So that's fun.
But Gregory Ambroise SEO. I hope I said that right, Gregory. Apologies if I didn't. I think that looks very French or similar. So hopefully the technique there was not bad. But what is your favorite tool or method to check site structure, Chris?
Again, Sitebulb. Not only do they have tree view, they have the crawl map, like any view that you're most comfortable with. They have it. They'll even spit it out in text format. I think there's 4 views to look at structure and internal linking relationships. And then inside of the export, they'll also give you the internal links based upon a key term. And then where is the flow primarily leading to based on what keyword? Sitebulb's the ticket, and it's like $40.
Yeah, it's surprisingly cheap.
Great tool.
It's surprisingly cheap. I might be wrong if I say this, but I get the feeling that Sitebulb used to be a lot more expensive. I genuinely do. I can't remember, but I get a feeling that hasn't always been that cheap. But I might be wrong. But we were right, and Gregory is from France. So hopefully I got your name somewhere close to being right. But if you have other questions, Gregory, put them in there. But like you say, Chris, going back to what we're saying, could you scrimp and scrape on money to use cheaper tools? Do you think that's a thing? Could you use some old shit-ass auditing tool and you're not getting enough data? Or do you think they all crawl a website fairly well?
I mean, they all are very similar, right? Like they're very, very, very close. Like I think Screaming Frog has laid it all out, and then it's just how is it presented? You know, they're all pretty much the same. You know, there is another one though. What is it called? One of the guys in the group uses it because he's always working on like enterprise sites. I can't think of the tool. It's not Netcrawl or what's the other one that's like Screaming Frog and Sitebulb? It's a hot one.
There's a French one, believe it or not, when Gregory's there is a French one, and I can't remember the name of it for the life of me. God, It's going to annoy me.
I have to look it up real fast. I'm looking.
Come here.
As soon as I see it, it'll Bright
French.
Edge, Power Suite, Deep Crawl. That's the one.
They've changed their name. Deep Crawl isn't the one I
Lumar.
was thinking of. Deep Crawl changed their name to, what's it called? Lumar.
Yep.
Lumar. God, there's another one though. French SEO auditing tool.
This is a new player I never saw. Rank IQ. Never heard of it.
Nah. God, where's that French one?
I
can't find it by searching for French SEO auditing tool. But
did you go to google.fr?
No.
And then search for SEO audit tool?
No.
Okay. I have to know. And this one's the truth, or what? Is it the best?
Is it Labrica? No, it was just an alternative. Is it Labrica? It's not unless they've rebranded, because
I had that. That was cool.
I didn't know that Deep Crawl had changed to Lumar either. I just seen this tool at Brighton SEO and I'm like, Lumar, what the fuck is that? And someone went, oh, it used to be Deep Crawl. And I'm like, right, rebrand. Because they were like, all of a sudden just came and this new name was out and they were taking up all this space. And you're like, geez, who are these guys? But Russell Freddie Edmonds is here. We are both well. But Labrica, I've never even heard of that. But I'm going to check and see. Labrica.
It's on AppSumo. I bought it at first, and then they started selling them for like $40. It's really, really nice, and it makes a really nice report. But again, it's not Semrush, or it's not Sitebulb. Sitebulb, it's equal to Sitebulb on all fronts, except for the overview of the internal site structure. It doesn't have multiple layouts and it doesn't give me the report so I can see, hey, the primary flow pointing to this page, basically saying, hey, if I have a page that's called SEO audit, how many other pages and what pages say the term SEO audit that is passing? And then be able to just look down the list. Dude, that's very valuable to me. That Sitebulb's the only one that does that. But yeah, Labrica is cool.
I'm just having a look at it there. It looks as if it certainly covers a fair bunch of stuff on there. But yeah, I'm not a fan of change, so it's not suggesting that it would warrant jumping away from Sitebulb. Put it that way. There's nothing on here where I'm going, oh shit, that's
right,
great. But there we go. But guys, questions on technical or any other topic you want to, the questions are open to be whatever you want. They don't have to be technical, because I'm maybe getting the feeling that people maybe don't have any kind of major technical questions or are not asked on that area of SEO. So any questions at all, ping them in the chat, because there are people watching and we want to enlighten if we can. Put it there, and even if you're just listening, just let us know you are still listening as well, because it's always good to know, even a thumbs up, to know that people are still listening, even if we need to make the questions up ourselves, because that is something that I find that a lot of the regulars who listen still listen, but they just aren't asked on asking questions. They just like to hear what other people are asking. They like the sound of our voices, Chris. So that is the thing. But yeah. But anyway, other than that, Chris, from a technical perspective, I'll just go back to it while other people are going to ask other questions. Is there anything else we haven't touched on that you feel is important for a newbie to consider when it comes to technical? Ryan asked the question, what is the most complicated thing? But what is the most common fucking thing that you see that is on an audit where it needs to be resolved?
The most common thing I see is the meta descriptions or title tags are too long. That's the one that always jumps out. And I'm like, who cares? Like when you look down the report, that's a nightmare. 404 pages, links that are broken. I think the titles, the metas, pages that are broken, 404 pages. Don't have a robots.txt. I see that show up a lot. Like, again, who cares? It's like, to me, it's stuff that doesn't matter. In my opinion, again, but I'm focused on performance for the client. I think a lot of the massive issues can be taken care of from your host. You got good host, you could get away with a lot as far as speed and all the other issues. Yeah. But back to the literal technical SEO issues, it's everything that shows up in GSC. I think if you're going to be looking, the most common things are the pages that aren't indexed, canonical pointing to the wrong place. Hey, they chose a different canonical. Like, taking care of those issues is not only important, but I think it impacts actual rankings in the long term, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And then back on that question I asked you, like the dead wood, like I think that's very, very important. Cleaning that up, you know? I was curious if you thought to keep it at 0 or, you know, but you're like, as long as it's not out of hand.
Yeah. I mean, I would always say, you know, to someone, you know, if you've got dead wood in your website, or people always talk about adding new content, I think content pruning and getting rid of the dead wood is an important thing to do, or merge the content together. Even just changing the URL of that content because it didn't work with the URL structure. Sometimes even something like that can make it go. But, you know, I think I would try other stuff than just blanket get rid of it as well. But I think, you know, if there is stuff when you go into Search Console that gets no clicks, no impressions, it is effectively dead to, you know, as far as Google goes. And I would argue that people have that 80-20 in their website where 80% of the pages are actually not doing much for you. And that is something that over a period of time should be balanced out. You always want to rank for more keywords and do better and whatever else. So whatever that is not being given impressions and clicks could be a number of different things, but I would try and work on that rather than just add all the time for the sheer hell of it. That seems to be pointless. But
I go through this with clients sometimes, though. Definitely not with the commercial intent pages. It's very, very uncommon for us to change up commercial intent, like, you know, Plumber Houston. But there are times where, like, it might sound insane, but we'll recreate the page, duplicate it, but then we'll put Houston Plumber in the main structure and optimize around that. It's all the same content, but the lead variations and the URL, the title, and the H1 will swap, and then the page will go. And we're like, what the heck? Yeah. I know that sounds odd, but... Oh, here's another one. The images. I see that a lot too. Like people not taking their time with the images. Like alts, maybe not titling them. You know, maybe too many images as opposed to text ratio. I see that. Pretty common.
Yeah.
I don't know what else. I can't think of anything else off the top of my melon.
Cool. Well, we'll go to the question.
Sorry. Can you tell I was at the arcade yesterday with little Chris?
I could tell something was there. I didn't know if you maybe had a good night at the karaoke or a dose of the COVIDs or whatever. But yeah, oh, you can hear it. You can hear it.
Yeah.
So
we figured out there's like a ball drop game, and we figured out if you let the elephant go all the way to the top, it'll blink 3 times and then it'll start to come down. On the third blink, if you hit it, it'll go right into the Super Bowl. So, dude, we were having a blast with that, dude. I know. Anyway,
for that. But Russell is asking, do you ever add host Domain robots.txt.
Domain robots.txt. Is that the virtual robots? I'm not sure about all the host robots.txt. We create robots.txt files inside of the like plugins that will make what's called a virtual robots file. I like to utilize them. Allow. We have a nice little block list of certain sites and crawlers. Fill up the blocks, allow everything else. That's it.
Anything that maybe someone listening would go, what the fuck's that bastard blocking? Sorry, in the robots text, robots.txt. So do you ever add the host into the robots.txt file?
Host?
The host of your website?
No, we'll allow like all the Google stuff, Google Ads. But what we're blocking is SEMrush, Moz, Ahrefs, that type of stuff. Just crawlers, depending on the site.
For what reason? To avoid competitors snooping on you, or would it be just you don't want them, crawling all up your website and slowing it down, or what's the kind of main reason for that?
I started blocking because when you take if you really want to know the exact reason, is if you go pull up like a Majestic or a SEMrush or an Ahrefs or whatever, like look up the top 100 sites. Now we're not talking about Google and Facebook and all these, but the top sites, and then go and pull their site into how they're ran, like that made with, what it's built on.
Okay.
And what you'll tend to find is it's just magical. Dude, they all have almost everything in common. Like the types of servers, the types of setups, the CDNs that they're utilizing, the balancing that they're doing, all the different site verifications that they're utilizing, and they all block those robots.
Yeah.
So sometimes people in larger spots know something, right? So I just dude, they got all the money, they must know something. So that's what I do, depending on the client, because I already have all the details. You know what I mean? Like I have GSC, we have SEMrush. Like I don't need the details. I already know,
Yeah.
So
makes sense. Makes sense. Gregory is asking, what do you think about SVG trend for image, and does it affect SEO in general?
When certain browsers and or other assets have trouble with certain things that come up, like this is SVG in this particular instance, until there is a massive shift amongst the sheeple, I try to stay like I look just like the last example I gave. What are the big dogs doing? What are they using? Like the WebP and the JPEGs, that's what I primarily see. That's what I primarily use. The SVGs and like those other types of images, yes, I'll see that a lot for the icons, or like people use those little images that they don't want indexed. You know what I'm talking about? Like, so we'll utilize those because they're small little tiny images and they're crisp. But for the most part, it's WebP and JPEG.
Yeah, and would that impact SEO in general, Gregory? I think there is traffic to be had from ranking your images. I'm not saying it's huge amounts or anything like that, but how things work with Google and traffic and engagement signals and everything else, I would always try and make sure that the images do rank for search terms as well. I think it's definitely the right thing to be doing. So I do think if you're feeding Google an image that it's having trouble understanding, then you're not doing the best job you can. So I think overall, I don't think it would hugely damage your campaign or anything, but I think it can impact your SEO, absolutely. So that would be my advice on it. I would be looking to resolve that if it was something I was working on, and that's the way they were doing things. But Paul Lovell goes in to add PNGs can be compressed better than JPEG. Google Images search, if I remember, is about 30% of Google market share. So that says it all, really. It's there's traffic there for sure, and yeah, try and do what you can with it. Got to grab every little bit you can. And Ursol has a question, Chris. Literally just as you've taken the jacket off. I just know Chris has a Reebok t-shirt under that zip-up jumper, but I want to know how he knows that.
Well, I mean, when I buy stuff that's comfortable, and affordable, and I just buy a supply. And then when it looks like I don't like if this loses a little tinge, I'll throw it all away and I'll just go buy new. So they were up at Walmart, they have Reebok, everything. So I bought all the sweatpants, the hoodies, the jackets, everything, socks, underwear, the whole nine. It's like sport wickening. It's relatively inexpensive. It's always there. It's comfortable. And that's what I did. I walked in there and bought 10 of everything.
Like all black? Like I was just wondering.
No, I got blue. And I got like a light blue. The sport pants, I only got like a tan, but mostly black. Yes, black, because black is my favorite shade.
Yeah.
I like black.
Why not?
Plus it makes it look slim.
Freddie is saying, I didn't explain that very well. Just for Google crawlers, I've been seeing some sites adding in normal procedure, sitemap, page, / page, etc., then host, and then their domain. Was wondering, does that make much of an impact?
See, Mr. Edmonds. See this. How much time did you spend looking at that? Right, like these small little things, my friend. Anytime you have a qualm like that, go to the biggest players that are in your market, whatever market you're in, and go and take a look. Are they doing it? Yay or nay? If the answer is no, move on. that's how
yes.
whatever the idea is. You know what I'm saying? Sorry, Craig.
I was going to say, what if the answer is yes? You would say, do that, motherfucker.
I'd run with it. Absolutely. Yeah. Well, yeah. Yep. But not if I only found one. But generally speaking, though, like if we're doing pest control and I'm looking at Orkin and they're doing this, or they're using these servers or these CDNs or this verification or W3, that like whatever, or say they had that host file, I'd be like, I would go look at one more. And if I saw something very similar, definitely I would deploy. For sure. They have the resources, and resources buy time. That means somebody had the time because they had the resource to go figure the crap out. I just need the answer.
Gregory says, depends on the type of image. JPEG could also do a better job than WebP in some cases. So,
sure.
Thank you for that. Ursol says, Chris's t-shirt is basically like Trigger's broom.
I don't know what that is, but
I don't know what Trigger's broom is, but
I'm going to go look it up right now.
Trigger's broom.
And you probably can't tell on the...
Right. That Trigger... Trigger from Only Fools and Horses. You would probably have to be a UK person to understand that. Because you've probably never heard of Only Fools and Horses, right?
Never.
It's really funny. From the 80s and 90s, and Trigger was a character in that, and a funny one at that. Actually, I quite like Trigger. So
So this is a bonus for Mr. Palmer. So you're saying, hey, you remind me of this dude that's jumping in
Eh,
the
I'm
kind of a
not sure I
compliment.
would take it. Nah, nah.
No, all right,
I
you're
would
out of
tend
here.
to
Kick him out.
say, I would, I would tend to say if someone had said that my clothing looked like Trigger's broom, I would be going, nah, that's not a good thing. That's not a good thing. Like his broom is his fucking brush that he was sweeping the street with, and
Send me a
his
check, bro. I'll buy
his
it. Send me a check and make me a list, and I'll go get it.
Trigger's old broom had 17 new heads and 14 new handles in its time.
Interesting. Okay. Why? What does that mean though?
So it
14
means it's
heads.
not a new. It means it's not a new broom, then, right? Like
Mm.
Trigger's old broom. Trigger's old broom that he talks about has had 17 new fucking heads on it
Oh, that on
and
your head. Yeah.
14 new handles. So it's clearly not an old broom. So
Fair enough. Okay.
I
This is
think,
UK
yeah.
stuff. Yo,
Um,
you guys have something, speaking of UK stuff, that's quite odd. You have this stuff called veggie. It's like squeeze vegetin. It's delicious. Just want to throw that out there. It's like a veggie thing that's just packed with all these vitamins and all the like the weird little minerals and nutrients from veggies. And
mhm.
it's a concentrate veggie gel or squeeze. It's very, very popular. I'm surprised you never heard of it. It's green. It looks gross. It smells weird, but it tastes pretty good. It has like a asparagus taste.
I'll take the word.
You're like, hey, Chris,
I
I'll
ain't
let you
fucking
eat that.
saying that.
Good luck
Yeah,
to you.
we don't need to know that. Yeah.
It's good stuff.
Russell says
Vegemite.
he will run what Vegemite?
Vegemite. You heard of it?
Nah, I'd never heard of it.
Goodness
But
gracious. It's good.
Black Hole Super Sloth says Trigger was an idiot. Paul Lovell is laughing. The joke is the entire thing has been replaced many times, just like your T-shirt, Chris. So
Fair enough.
it's not an old T-shirt when they're always new.
Yeah.
Marmite says Paul Lovell. Vegemite is from Australia.
Dude, my freaking stepmom used to always like buy me stuff from like the thrifty.
Oh,
So like I
man.
just like it could be cheap, but it's new. You know what I mean?
Is new to someone anyway. Black Hole, I would tend to agree that Vegemite or whatever the hell it is does sound grim as. LinkedIn user is laughing. I don't know why your name's not coming up, but hey ho. Vegemite is Aussie. Marmite is better than veggie, so we'll get a veggie and Marmite debate going on, which is
It's from
something I would
Australia.
have predicted.
Is it Australia? Are you sure? I'm sure. I mean, it doesn't matter. Trust me. I'm just curious.
We'll take credit where it's due. If it's,
Yeah, I'm handing it to the UK guys. I'm giving it to them anyway. There you go. Cheers.
CTR question.
Oh,
Won't Google mostly be looking at clicks from logged in accounts?
I mean, I think they're looking at clicks if you're utilizing their browser or visiting a website that utilizes any of their technology, then I believe that your data is going into the stream. It's called blended data. I think it's all being whether sold or utilized for some other product or technology advancements or whatever. If you're using a Chrome browser or visiting an asset that's using anything Google, it all counts, in my opinion. That's what I think. Think about it. like, let's just hypothetically think about this. If data is the true asset, and you're like, think about this. Like, if all the money comes from having the data, and you have all the money, and you want to stay in position, wouldn't you do everything to get more data? Of course you would. So I believe that that's what Google's doing. And no matter where you look online, you run into Google. It could be anything. It could be a form. It could be a caption. It could be a text. It could be an image. It could be a million different things. Let alone if you were going from search engine over to an asset, even if you're not using anything Google, even if that site doesn't have anything, if it originated from Google, they got you. That's my opinion, though. Maybe I'm crazy. I don't know.
But we've still got this thing going on. But Black Hole Super Sloth is saying they're always watching Google. I'm assuming. Ursol is saying, could you do a CTR test logged in versus not logged in and see which moves the needle the most?
Which test do you want me to show you? How many do you want to see? I mean, that's I mean, I probably have 20 variations of that in different markets. And then we started testing it in markets. Like, it's of equal. You know, assets aren't only just getting Chrome users. They're not just getting mobile devices. They're not just getting iPhones. I think it takes all kinds to move up. And then the larger the key term, where there's more activity, the larger the variety needs to be on your end. You know, so not only is there the complexity of the amount of volume it takes, but then there's the complexities of variety. And that's why guys like me love those smaller markets, because I could do far less. You know, I could do far less. There's less complexity and I can send less traffic. It costs less. It's just so much better. Like, do I want to go for a dude that wants to rank for, you know, Los Angeles real estate investment, or how about Los Angeles car accident lawyer? Do I want to go for that, or how about Tamaqua, Pennsylvania car accident lawyer? You know what I'm saying? Tamaqua has 1,300 people. So, with that being said, that's all I have to say about that. I think it all matters.
Ursol is saying, I think you'll get a nice short out of that answer, guys. Absolutely.
Oh, what was the answer?
The answer
on the last answer? Oh,
yeah. Okay. And I missed the CTR manipulation video. Cliff notes.
Well, we were primarily intaking, like, Craig and I's thoughts and lessons that have been learned or acquired over time and the hard way. Like, we don't know what we forgot until you ask. You know what I'm saying? So we're primarily, you know, like, in order to rise up and get interaction, we're taking in questions. You know, what's valuable to me might not be valuable to you sitting there. But Cliff notes, ask. I would love to answer anything that you have related to CTR manipulation. And if I quiet up, then go and figure out the answer for yourself, because that's where it's at. You know what I mean? If I'm like, nah, I ain't answering that. I would never say no, though.
But
would you?
No.
Try to give some type of insight.
But Black Holes just want to know, does it legit work?
It's not. The biggest takeaway here when we're talking about CTR is that the term click-through rate manipulation is far sexier than traffic and user signal manipulation, or it's really website traffic. It's the traffic, and where does that traffic derive from, and what does it do when it's interacting with your asset, and how consistently can I send that traffic? Like, saying that isn't make a pretty title, you know? It's not just the click through. There's many more pieces to it. Just like with on page, like, it's not just on page or keyword density, right? Like, think of all the little tasks that you have to do in order to perform well. It's the same with traffic and traffic manipulation. So the biggest cliff note is it's just not the CTR. And if you're looking at CTR, I mean, I think coming up with the CTR is relatively easy when looking at your website and you have Google Search Console data, because once you understand what your best average is, you know what the high is. And that's where we try to stay underneath. It's not just the CTR.
I've got a question before we go to the last one.
Sure.
What the fuck is a cliff note?
Like a takeaway. A cliff note.
Never heard of that term in my fucking life. Now, when you asked that, Black Hole, I'm like, was that a video that Chris done on his own? Like, what is cliff note a thing that you're using for fucking CTR?
No.
What the fuck is this?
But that lets us know what generation that Black Hole Super Sloth is out of, though.
You know what I mean? An older generation's term?
An older, yeah, for sure.
I've never heard of that term over here, cliff notes, but you learn something every day. But our Saul says, for CTR, can't you just run Facebook ads rather than going to all of these lengths to fake the traffic?
Facebook traffic is excellent as a referrer, right? But in the temporary or the short term, if I'm utilizing an ad source in order to get validated embedded traffic, yes. In the short term, if I'm buying from Google or I'm buying from Facebook, sending it to a page in the short term, you're going to perform exceptionally well. But over time, and as that data blends, just like anything, when you first eat your first candy bar, right? Like, oh, that's good. But if you just keep eating them, it doesn't taste as good as that first bite. It's the same with the traffic. Like initially, if I'm getting a rush from traffic or I'm super viral, yes. And in the very short term, as soon as that starts happening, you'll get that extensive or that huge lift. But once it normalizes, it's over. That's why, like, when you're doing big spikes like that with traffic, it has to be viral or in bursts. That's what I figured that out long ago. And now you know.
And Black Hole Super Sloth is 39, just so you know. So
see.
But anyway, we are.
Wait, is 39 old?
What? No.
No. Okay, good. That's how old I am. That's how I knew. I'm like, dude, he's not like 20 or something. Like, I would never hear my brother say cliff note. Something I would say.
Yeah. But anyway, we are out of time, guys. But we will be back at the same time next week if you've got any questions. But if you're watching this, please do leave a like and subscribe or comment below with any other questions that you may have. Also, do check out chrispalmer.org and also check out Randy the News Guy. His link is below. But we will be back at the same time next week, and we do appreciate the questions and everything else. So, absolutely. See you later.
See you next time. See you.